The new direction may not be easy, but it is ethical, responsible, prudent, and most importantly, necessary. We've had to take hard decisions and make painful choices because we owe it to the people of Kenya to do the right thing and to confront facts as they are without flinching or equivocating. We have worked hard at home and abroad to mobilize a broad coalition of bilateral development partners. Many of them, I see them in this house, multilateral development banks and other agencies, which have rallied to pull our country back from the brink of debt distress and set us today firmly on the path towards sustainable economic growth. Our efforts to stabilize the situation have yielded such progress that next month, in December, we will be able to settle the first Kenya shillings $300 million or 500 billion Kenya shillings installment of the US dollars 2 billion Eurobond debt that falls due next year. I can now confirm with confidence that we will and we shall pay the debt that has become a source of much concern to citizens, markets, and our partners. Having said this, I further announce to the nation that our intention, consistent with sustained effort here and abroad, have enabled us to normalize our relations with the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the Africa Development Bank, and various development partners to such an extent that they are now working with us to implement the bottom-up economic transformation plan. As I earlier indicated, our public borrowing had long crowded our productive sector from the financial markets, raising the cost of credit and slowing down trade and commerce, especially the micro, small, and medium enterprises, including Mama Mboga. Consequently, many enterprises and entrepreneurs were referred for blacklisting by the credit reference bureaus, where 7 million borrowers were listed by last year. We committed to provide affordable and accessible credit and restore small business owners to good standing with credit rating agencies. A deliberate, targeted strategic financial inclusion fund, the Hustler Fund, providing affordable credit and mobilizing savings for individuals and small businesses, was launched on the 30th of November 2022. The public response to the Hustler Fund has exceeded most initial projections and surprised even the most hardened skeptics. By the end of last month, the fund had disbursed Kenya shillings 36.6 billion, and in savings 2.3 billion, and with 7.5 million repeat borrowers, whose overall repayment rate is at 73%. The top borrower of the fund has so far accessed Kenya shillings 4.5 million in 816 transactions, while the top voluntary saver is at 631,491. In the intervening period, the Hustler Fund has also launched a group product which has attracted 50,000 active groups to the platform, and of which 20,000 have received 151 million Kenya shillings. The Hustler Fund has provided us not only the huge pent-up demand for affordable credit, but also the readiness of Kenyans to express or to embrace credit and savings and to pay their loans on time with minimum prompting. The notion that Kenyans are not creditworthy or are high-risk borrowers is nothing more than an unjust financial profiling, which has, in many instances, become a needless, self-fulfilling prophecy. Yesterday, when I called Harrison Karisa Kenga, a tuk-tuk operator in Mombasa, who has accessed 714,000 from the Hustler Fund, he suggested to me to find a way to have the fund provide asset financing so that he can buy for himself a tuk-tuk because the one he had was not his. I assured him that during my address today, I would ask the ministry responsible to respond to him. Consequently, I hereby direct the Ministry of Cooperatives and MSMEs to expeditiously engage Mr. Kenga. I will give you his telephone number. The impact of the Hustler Fund is summarized by a story of a Mr. Sospita Ondiek from Kisii. I suggest that the Kenyan film industry should look for him so that he can tell you his full story. Mr. Ondiek has a plumbing and tiling business in Kisii. And through the Hustler Fund, he has accessed 1.7 million in the many transactions he has undertaken to enhance our savings that have consistently been among the lowest globally, and to correct the delayed transformation of our social security architecture. Fundamental reforms are underway in our savings and social security space. As promised, we committed to take deliberate measures to foster a strong culture of savings amongst Kenyans and enable them mobilize resources for investment and development of intergenerational capital to eliminate old age poverty and to ensure comfort in retirement. Until recently, the rate of Kenya's public pension saving stood at 1.4 billion shillings a month, which is the lowest in our region at only 12.5% of our GDP. As a result of our initial interventions, the savings situation in Kenya is changing for the better. Contributions, honorable members, to the National Security Fund have grown from 1.4 billion shillings in January to 6.5 billion shillings every month, this month. The implication of this growth in our national savings is that it will significantly consolidate our nation's ability to invest in development using domestic resources as opposed to us going to borrow other people's money when they save. Honorable members, majority of Kenyans live in their own rural homes, even though many experience land and settlement challenges, including landlessness, insecure land tenure, and perennial squatter problems. Acute housing challenges are principally an urban phenomenon, and they present a serious threat to health and safety, as well as dignity of people, particularly low-income earners. The proliferation of slums in our urban areas indicate the extent of this serious problem and the urgency with which it must be addressed to enable Kenyans have greater choice in leading dignified, safe, and healthy lives affordably. Low supply of affordable housing units in Kenya is acute, making rent a huge component of the cost of living for many households. The increase in affordable housing units is a strategic intervention to not only supply affordable dwellings for Kenyans, but also as a means to reduce the cost of living. 3 categories of houses will be supplied by this program: social housing, affordable housing, and for the rest, market rate housing. Interest on financing is where we intend to make the big difference. Interest at the moment, as all of us know in this house, is at almost 18%. But under this program, all interest should be or will be at single digit. For social housing, the interest will be at 3%. You know, honorable members, that we all get 3%. So even the people in the social space, they also deserve to get 3%. Those in the affordable housing space will get 6% and 9% for the people in the market category. The affordable housing program has received tremendous support from county governments across Kenya. And I want to thank governors, and I know the chair of the Council of Governors is here, through her, all governors who have worked with us to make sure that this program becomes a reality. The construction of 46,792 units in various parts of Kenya is already underway, while another 40,000 are ready to commence in a couple of weeks. 50,000 Kenyans are working. People who were previously unemployed, they are now engaged directly and indirectly in this enterprise. And the numbers will significantly increase as the projects move into the next phase and as we roll out many more units. A total of 746,795 housing units are in the pipeline as I talk to you under various stages of delivery. More jobs are being created with the formalization of the Jua Kali clusters, providing products like doors, hinges, and windows. And this morning, as I visited one of the sites that I went to launch the construction in March, I was amazed that a site that was flat in March today, and I was with the Member of Parliament for Ruto, today has 11 block units, almost at 60% complete. And I also met the Jua Kali cluster for Ruto, and they have been given a contract of 140 million to be able to supply doors and windows. Architects, engineers, quantity surveyors, masons, electricians, plumbers, transporters, steel and cement factory workers, and hardware merchants will be partakers in this transformative plan. I spoke to Moses today at the site in Ruto, an electrician, and he told me out of the 1,700 workers in the site today, he was in charge of 114 electricians who are engaged in that site. And he asked me, Mr. President, make sure the next site is ready for us because we will finish this ahead of time. Let me also say, we are constructing 400 markets across Kenya to provide Mama Mboga with a dignified working environment, complete with water, electricity, and other amenities. And I want to thank members of this House for participating in various ways and working with us and also with the counties in identifying the right locations for these markets. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members, our education system must develop a formidable reservoir of skill, talent, highly competitive and innovative human capital to support our vision of an economically transformed Kenya. Within weeks of taking office, I appointed the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform, led by Professor Raphael Munavu, my former teacher, who provided clarity on transition to the new competence-based curriculum and made further recommendations on necessary reforms in our education system from early childhood all the way to the tertiary levels. The Working Party concluded its work and submitted a report whose recommendations are already being implemented. And vexing question of transition to junior school has been settled. And the Kenya Primary School Education Assessment will be used for the exclusive purpose of monitoring learners' progress and not for placement in any grade. In keeping with our commitment, 56,750 new teachers have been employed. I'm sure the Honorable Milemba can confirm this. While 8,200 primary school teachers were retrained to equip them with capacity to effectively deliver learning and teaching at junior school levels. With changes to the entry requirements for teacher training colleges, admission has increased by 300% to now 20,456 trainees. I was privileged to be in Kwale last week to open the Kwale Teacher Training College, which had only less than 100 students a few months ago. And when I went there, the principal told me that the numbers have increased 4 times. At the tertiary level, the Working Party recommended an overhaul of the existing education funding framework to a variable scholarship and loan model